Welcome to the code scanning lab. In this lab, I already have created an example file. If you are on GitHub, you can go to github.com/code cloud security bootcamp. I have a repository that I've created over here, which is public, so you should be able to access it. And I can put this in there as well. But essentially, it's just cloud security bootcamp, and within that, GHAS example lab files, which is the GitHub Advanced Security. I've created each folder for each of the different types of advanced security you can do. In this particular lab, we're talking about code scanning. So let's do code scanning. As you can see, there's one file in here. I haven't added a lot. So the first thing you need to do is go into settings, and the lab will talk about how do you enable GitHub code scanning. To do that, in your repository, you can go to settings, you can go into code security. I don't have anything enabled. As you can see, dependent board, none of them are available. Code scanning is available, which is under, again, code security analysis. Under the settings of your repository, if you go into code security and analysis by clicking on code security analysis, and if you scroll down, you should see a question said code QL analysis. Now, as I mentioned in the lesson, code scanning uses code QL. So to enable that, you need to click on setup, default. I would show you advanced in another example, but for now, we'll just use the default option. It does take a few minutes. It has recognized that the file that I have is a Python file in this repository. It is important to know that code QL can only work against languages that that GitHub allows for. In this case, I picked one that it does. I have picked the on push and pull request to protected branch as well as the main. I'm happy with that. And it would do a weekly schedule. Now I'll enable this. I can edit this if I want, but I'm happy with this. So I'm just not gonna change any of this. I'm just gonna go, okay, I'm gonna say enable. Now it does take a few minutes, and if you're curious as to if it's setting up over here, if you're curious as to what it's doing, if you come to actions, you should start seeing over here. Basically, as I've called out in the lab as well, it uses GitHub Actions to do it. And because it's a public repository, it is going to queue up a set of workflows in GitHub Actions. And at the moment, I've kicked out the workflow for code QL setup. It takes a few minutes. Once it completes, we can continue the lab. So I'm just gonna pause the video and come back. Or I might just continue the recording, and it might just, or what I might do is I might just fast forward it. There would be different parts to it as code QL is added and enabled, just for you to know. Okay, looks like code QL is set up now. So if I go back to settings and code security analysis, okay, I can see the file. Last scan was 1 minute ago. Now if I go to security, and I should see code scanning is enabled. And if I can click over here for view alerts, it doesn't have any alerts. It hasn't found anything on this yet, which is a good thing. So that means we are safe for now. But if I go into code scanning, so it doesn't look like there's a lot. I would have thought this would be picked up, but this is a good example where it is not being picked up. But to make it work, what we can do is I have this repository that I'm gonna fork. Okay, so while it's forking, this is a website, or this is a juice shop, is by an OWASP project, which, if you don't know, is Open Web Application Security Project. They have a lot of these vulnerable applications that you can use to identify if you have any vulnerabilities. To continue to show you how it can work, I'm gonna click on actions because I understand my workflow. Go ahead, blah blah blah. I need to do. So if I go to settings for this and I click on code security analysis, if I find my code scanning, as you can see, it would not be enabled because I don't have GitHub Actions. To enable that, I can go into actions. I understand my workflow and go ahead. I clicked on that green button that appeared. Now it takes only a few seconds. Now I go back. So, okay. Now that I've enabled GitHub Actions, I can go into settings. And if I go into code security and analysis on the left, I should see the code QL analysis. Now to enable this for a repository, the easiest thing to do is to simply click on setup and use the default option. You can use, it has recognized there is JavaScript files in here and Python files in here. So we'll do enable. And if you want to see the set of actions that are taking place, either you can just stop on this page and see what's going on and it would not show you anything, or you can go to actions tab and you can see how it's set up. We'll fast forward the video to the point where it enables it, but this is how you would enable code QL or code scanning. Another thing you can do while this comes up, so I might open a new tab and I can show you how it works in an organization as well. So if I go into, this is my organization, I can go into settings, and within settings, I have code security, and I can use global settings under code security. And as you can see, I can configure it. I can call it out, recommend the extended query suite for repositories, enabling default. The extended query includes the default suite plus lower severity issues. So once I enable that, it would be enabled for extending queries to default suite. However, it doesn't mean it automatically enables it for all the repositories. However, you can at least configure the recommendation for query suites to happen. That is a global setting. Now, there is a beta feature as well where you can see that I have two and I can apply to all repositories configuration for code security. I can even configure, I can actually say, hey, I'm going to select these and I'm going to apply configuration for GitHub recommended ones. So I can just go GitHub recommended to public repositories. I want it to be as default for newly created repositories. I want only public, private, and internal, all repositories. I want the code security configuration to be applied for all repositories. Once I apply that, and it should kick off, and it now has GitHub recommended. Okay, so that is how you enable on a organization level. If you, however, were on a personal account, so I'm just going to go to my personal account. If I just click on your profile, so this is my personal account. I can go into any of the packages. I think I have the same package here as well, but let me just go to repositories. And I have one called Juice Shop over here as well, which I've basically forked earlier. As you can see, I had enabled code scanning before, so I have a lot of alerts already on for code scanning on everything is found. That is the name of the file that it is looking at. So it has found a lot of the code scanning vulnerabilities. This is what it looks like. I can look into the warning, but for the time being, what I would do is the same thing. Maybe let me show you a file which I'll show you a file where I don't have it enabled. So if I come back to the personal page, I can pick any repository. Let's just say I pick cloud security vulnerabilities. Now to enable secret, so to enable scanning or code scanning on this, if you notice, I don't have code scanning enabled because I clicked on security and it showed that it's not enabled. So if I go to settings and I click on code security and analysis and I come down, I can see that code QL analysis is available. I can click on setup. Same thing that you see at an organization repository. It would not be any different when it's a personal account. So you can do that. And if you want, you can click on edit and you can have a look at these, but I don't believe you can change them unless you want to extend the default suite in any other way. But simply clicking on enable code QL should enable that for this repository. Now it's worthwhile noting I have a plenty of JSON, nothing really sophisticated over here. It's just a README file. I'm not expecting it to do a lot of things here, but I should see the same if I click on actions. I should be able to see that I don't have much in there apart from I have all these services enabled. And to always confirm if you have services enabled, click on security for any repository and you should be able to see what services are enabled. That's pretty much it. That's what I want to cover in terms of enabling code scanning for repositories. And that's the end of this chapter. I'll see you in the class.